Welcome back to the Empty the Quiver podcast, your front row seats for all things Utah Archers. From game recaps to standout performances, we'll be your guide to all things orange and blue. Let's let it fly. Coming off the bye week, JB and I are joined by special guest Ryan Stines, our second round draft pick. Been a fixture in our offense all season. Super excited to have him here. So thank you so much, Ryan, for joining the show tonight.
Yeah, happy to be on anytime. Pleasure to chat.
If you don't know Ryan, you should. Is pacing very well to break the Archer single season rookie scoring record. Has had multiple points in 5 out of 6 games this season. Been super excited to have him. So, you're a Carolina boy like me. You know, grew up in Cary, North Carolina. What kind of prompted you to take your talents out west for college?
Yeah, it was really just the attraction of the city here and in the mountains, and the staff at the time was actually Coach Holman and Coach Manny and Coach Marcus Holman and Coach Gittleman and Coach McDermott. So it was a different staff completely almost. Coach McDermott's still around today, but I just fell in love with the area. I fell in love with the mountains, and just was given an opportunity to hopefully step in and make an impact and do something for the first time, which, at the time our goal was to get, to our first NCAA tournament and then go on and try and make the Final Four, and, no limits from there. So that was really appealing. And we checked off the first of those boxes, which was just a blessing to experience with Utah and all my teammates. So I was fortunate to have that opportunity, and then being from North Carolina, you could probably assume, I was 5 to 10 minutes from Duke and UNC, and of course I grew up watching, Joey Sankey, Marcus Holman playing at UNC, Jordan Wolf at Duke, all those wonderful talents, and I think I went to every home game there was when I was in town. So of course I had some dream schools, and honestly I just didn't hear from a single one, and that put a chip on my shoulder to go out to Utah and prove something. And we definitely fell short of our ultimate goal, but we certainly took some steps for that program, and I'll be a Ute for life, and to still wear Utah on my chest, even though it's a different level and it's not attached specifically. It means the world, and it's something that I really take pride in for sure.
The mountains, you mentioned them right from the start, the scenery, the views.
Yeah.
You land at the airport, you get out, and it looks like a green screen. It doesn't look real. They're just right there on top of you. Does that ever get normal, or do you still go outside and just think, oh my goodness, look at this view?
Yeah, I think it doesn't get 100% normal. Obviously, you get acquainted, and maybe you forget to cherish it, but then you take a step back, or you go up to the mountains and you appreciate it, and it's pretty sweet. So I had to force myself not to make that a part of my actual commitment decision to come here, but I think it probably was. Obviously lacrosse was my life and is my life in a lot of ways, aside from trying to balance and take care of the other important things in life. But besides lacrosse, that probably got me here a little bit for sure.
So you were the all-time leading scorer, two-time All-American, two-time Conference Player of the Year. You were the Conference Rookie of the Year. You were captain 2 years. You won the ASUN twice. You were the tournament MVP once. Out of all the memories you have playing for Utah, what stands out? Number one, and if you got a top two, what are the top two things that you will never forget from your time at Utah?
That's a great question, and I feel like people get asked this question a lot, and I know I've been asked before at some point, but I honestly haven't thought about it too much, because just the whole experience is cherished, and I think obviously you step away and you still have relationships that mean the world. So when I think Utah, I really think of my current coaching staff, the staff that's still there. I think of them a lot, and then. I think probably just the first conference championship. mainly just because getting over that hump, and like Utah was independent. They didn't have a conference. They didn't have a way to get to the NCAA tournament. So to get that opportunity to fall short for a year and then to get over the hump was really cool. And it was a long road for me. I had to redshirt my freshman year due to injury, and then I got to come back, and we got over the hump. And it felt like, it was for me 2 years in the making, and for all these other guys it was 4+ maybe, or 3+ years in the making. And then put on top of that the alumni that helped the program make a transition, and a staff that had just essentially just came in and just grinded to put us in a position to do that quickly. So I think that just the first one, it's probably the expected answer, but winning a conference tournament and then getting to go to the NCAAs was pretty special. A lopsided score on that one. I still think about that a little bit. We played Notre Dame in our first NCAA game, and they went on to win it all. Just an incredible team, and probably a little eye-opening for our program of like, where do we need to go next? But that's still, just super special. And those seniors or juniors even that brought me in and like welcomed me. It was pretty cool to see their faces after that one. So.
Speaking a little bit more about that game, a lot has been made of, you didn't play in the ACC or the Ivy or whatever, but you've had some games against those guys. How do you think those games kind of prepared you for the talent level and the speed and everything in the PLL?
Yeah, I think it's great to get exposure to the best teams. I think, obviously playing the highest level and the teams with the most depth and the best cover guys, the best, off-ball defenders, whatever you want to call it. Getting exposed to those guys is great. I think, getting to the tournament and playing at that stage, like it's more mental than anything. I think every team at that point is, somewhat prepared, and depth can come into play, and who's hot on a given day can come into play. So I think it's really special just to be able to compete at a high level or at a level where it's win or go home, and to just gain experience of, hey, how do I approach this the same as any other game, and how do I execute at my highest level no matter the circumstance. So that's kind of what we went into those like higher ranked games or bigger conference games. We tried to bring that mentality. So that was pretty, I think, just a really good growth opportunity to practice more than anything the mentality and the mindset. But yeah, it absolutely pays dividends to go against those top defenders or whatever it is. So I'm very thankful we got to get those on the schedule, and then Utah also schedules really competitive teams in our out of conference. We go after the top dogs, or we at least try to get those on the schedule. So I'm grateful for that, for our staff doing that for us as well.
So college wraps up, and it's PLL draft day. It's no secret the Utah Archers, the home team, needed some help offensively, and they passed on offensive stars in the first round. Some big names, some guys that obviously are showing why they were first rounders. Lots of criticism from keyboard warriors at home to pick a small school, Ryan Stines, with the first pick of the second round. You're the first attackman that Utah took. One, do you notice on draft day some of the stuff that's posted out there, or do you stay away from the internet? And two, how excited were you to be drafted by Utah knowing you get to stay home?
Yeah, so number one, not a ton. I've seen a couple of things, obviously, here and there. My presence online is kind of to the extent of what I'm like tagged in, and it pops up on my phone. So, like anyone, I see stuff, but no, it really didn't change my mentality. Going into it, I've got years and years, almost probably we're creeping up on a 20-year career at some point in the coming years. So I've got 20 years of of memories and work to look back on and think about, who I'm really doing it for, which is, the people who supported me through it, and then also, my younger self who would be ecstatic to be playing at the level I am. And that's kind of who I was thinking about on draft day. And then, I had a room full of 50 guys just, screaming and cheering, giving me hugs after that. And it was really cool to experience that. So, that noise definitely kind of muffled out any negative feedback. I'm sure there was, people don't know who Utah lacrosse is at some points, if they're not watching, late into May and in those years that we got to the tournament or early into May and, stuff like that. So it certainly just depends on how much of a lax rat you are probably, if you know what's going on in Utah. But, I'm sure I saw some stuff. I don't think I remember much of it. And if it does, it's just hanging out on a chip on my shoulder. So, and then number 2, obviously, just stoked is probably a good word. Overwhelmed with gratitude. I mean, Coach Bates is someone I was, obviously in tune with. I'm a lax rat myself, so to play for Coach Bates and to play alongside some of these guys that I'm teammates with now, and going into the draft, would have been so excited to hear that was the way it worked out. So I think, just like Tom Schreiber obviously is a little banged up right now, and just having his presence, he still hops on calls and is guiding us in every way he can. Like, that is something special. He's one of my favorite players growing up, and to be on a Zoom call with him is pretty cool. There would have been instances like that around the league for sure. It's cool to play for and around teammates that you once looked up to, but to do it in Utah for the Archers with some of the teammates that I have now who are guiding me and showing me the way, and ones that I've competed against a little bit in college at times, like Mason Woodward at Marquette, and even McGuire at Duke. We matched up a couple times. Like, getting to team up with those guys is pretty special. So, I can't really put it into words that I would feel satisfied with, but it's something to take serious pride in, and having photos of Utah still on my chest, and I see those, and that's pretty special too, because leaving the university I knew was going to be tough, but it certainly softens the blow, and you still have Utah on the chest, and I'm still living in the community and a part of it. So
I want to talk about your debut. Obviously, you get to debut in Utah in front of some of your college teammates and family and all that. You came out, as good as anybody could ask for a rookie with a goal and an assist. Unfortunately, it's in a loss, but how did that feel? I mean, just talk us through. Now you've played in 4 other venues too. Just talk to us about how different Utah is from everywhere else.
Yes, that was really cool. You can't really draw it up better than having to drive 20 minutes to the team hotel for your first kind of training camp and debut. To be there, and like, my dad was in the stands, he got to come out. That was really special. It's kind of a mix of emotions, with kind of that first loss, and you want to take that first step as soon as you get the opportunity to. But I think we learned a lot from that first weekend, and we got the opportunity to bounce back. So that was great. But I mean, Utah's special. Again, I'll hit on the mountains. Like, the venue's just gorgeous. Real Salt Lake has incredible facilities, and people show out for it. I think the announcers are probably using the word electric a lot, and it's a good environment. It's loud. It's a little chaotic. So it was a really cool way to be welcomed in, and it kind of went by quick. I don't think I was thinking too much. But that can be a good thing when you're trying to adjust to something, is just get in the flow of the game. It's fast paced, so it wasn't a ton of overthinking. It's just get yourself in the game, and take the opportunities that you're given, and give your teammates space and get them opportunities as well. So try not to overthink it, and just also tried to take it in for a sec. It was hard not to take it in when you're hearing it and you're running out to the field for the first time. So um, to have some support too from the Utah community and people around here, I think have a little bit more awareness, obviously, of the University of Utah. So it's pretty cool to play in front of some of those kids who maybe go to the Utah lacrosse college games as well, and I've gotten to interact with them in the community in different ways. So it was pretty ideal. Obviously, our college season was cut short, and that's why I was able to make that debut at home. So it was a lot of emotions, but at the end of the day, I was just grateful to be playing and getting to know my new teammates and new coaching staff. So, yeah, special again, very special.
Coach Bates, he's mentioned how fast the locker room embraced you. We were talking about the opening weekend in Utah. You had a quick turnaround and played Denver the next day and won that game. Talk to us a little bit about the locker room and the guys and what made you fit in so quickly and how you made that transition from college to pros pretty much overnight.
Yeah, I think you're kind of forced into it to make it quick. Obviously it's a quick turnaround from one season to the next, which in one way or in one perspective it could be overwhelming, but in the next it's you kind of hit it in stride, which is really nice. And the training that we're doing through the week, you can just kind of continue that momentum from the college season. Some guys are banged up and whatnot, but it's really cool to be able to shift, and maybe your mindset and the speed of the game is a little different, but your approach and your weekly kind of preparation can just seamlessly shift over to the next week. So I think that was awesome, and that paid dividends. But from a locker room standpoint, I think you just got to give credit to the leadership and just there's a lot of quiet confidence on the Archers, kind of quiet killers. They've got their thing, and they're absolutely elite at it. You can look around the field and kind of know what I'm talking about without even mentioning names. So to just go on the field and everyone's elite in their own way and find ways to mesh together, and we're just starting to kind of figure that out, and there's definitely a good trajectory that we have in the locker room, in our belief and in our potential. So we saw that right away, and then for me to mesh in, just being locker mates with guys who welcome me, they're selfless, they don't care about touches and this and that. We care about succeeding together, and we don't care about who's doing it. And if there's a new guy who steps in who has an ability that can be plugged in and that can assist them in being even more effective, that's the goal. So obviously I want to step in and I want to make Matt O'Keefe a better shooter, and I want to get Connor Fields the space that he needs to be successful, and I want to occupy my guys and free up space for Dodgers like Sam King. I could go on about who do we want to set up for success and any given scenario. And I think everyone in the locker room takes that approach, which is really cool. So I was kind of guided into how do I make an impact. Well, they kind of give me the scenario and the opportunity just by being high IQ and being selfless and wanting to see me succeed. And then just to shout out guys like Sam King. I think we have a pretty similar build, play style. We see the game similarly, and he does it at an absolutely elite level, and a guy who's pretty underrated. I think it'd be tough to overrate Kinger. So he was the guy who really brought me in as a rookie just last year. He knows what it's like to get a shorty early on when you're not on the scout yet, and how to attack that, and then how to approach different matchups from kind of similar viewpoints or similar places on the field. Having a guy like that was incredible. And then above all, obviously, staff is who's running behind the scenes. So to have some trust put into me in that first weekend, hey, you don't have to take a back seat. Obviously that's the opportunity you ask for or you hope for, is just go out there and play and compete and try and come away with a win however however possible. So, it's a fun locker room to be in, and it's a fun style of play that we have, and call it four horses in the middle of the field with our short stick deep middies, and they're, those guys just bring an energy to the locker room that I don't think can be replicated anywhere. I've certainly haven't seen anything close to it. Just the level of energy and compete that they bring, and there's some unique and special pieces that we're still working on, and I'm excited about, and it certainly made that first weekend and that kind of introduction to the team really, really easy and seamless.
Yeah, you mentioned Sam King, somebody that's kind of taking you under their wing a little bit. I mean, is he kind of like your go-to guy? Like, if you don't know kind of what's going on, even how to be a pro, is that somebody that you talk to, or is there somebody else? And really, like, I don't know if y'all get to pick roommates on the road or how that works, but who's been a guy that you've spent some time with off the field?
Yeah, so Sam was actually my first roommate. We kind of mix it up to, it's based on flights and arrival times and stuff like that, for the most part, I think. So we mix it up, and we get to spend time with everybody, which is cool. But yeah, I think Sam, like, just being a recent offensive rookie, the prior year, and then just being able to share some of that, and we go from similar places on the field. We kind of attack in various ways. Like, he's extremely versatile, and hoping to pick up pieces of that game that he brings is never a bad thing. So I think, yeah, I've reached out to him a bunch, and he's been proactive about it. I could go down the list. Like, Connor Fields, he's like one of those quiet confidence guys. He's a killer on the left side and all over the field, really. And just to take pieces from his game, he's a father now. We have multiple fathers on this team, and Ryan Ambler is a guy who's been in the league for a while, and he just has so much knowledge, and he's caring. He wants to bring you quickly into the system, and he wants to see you succeed. So I could point out a ton of guys, and then Ament and Schreiber, guys who are a little banged up right now, but they're still, going over film, giving us feedback post game. They've been to a couple games just by driving, to the venues that are close enough, and giving feedback post game, and kind of setting things straight of like, hey, Tom's been in the league and he's found ways to be successful, every step of the way, and to have insight from that, a player like that is pretty special as well. So I think it's on me to kind of reach out and be a sponge, but at the same time, there's been so many guys who have taken me under their wing a little bit and shown me how to be a pro. So it's been a pleasure and really cool to experience.
So you're in Utah. Outside of game day, do you ever link up with Dauber? Do you ever take some reps and rip some shots? I mean, he's the best goalie in the world, and you happen to be on his team and live by him. So how does that work out?
Yep. He is the best goalie in the world, and every week, that's a big part of our prep. I think for him, it's more about just seeing the ball. Like, he's doing it at such high level, he doesn't need to take a million shots and kind of get banged up. Like, he takes care of his body at an elite level. He preps in the weight room, and then we get out there once or twice a week to see some live shots, high speed. For me, high speed reps, and for him, just tracking the ball. I don't know if I can say I'm the hardest shooter in the world, but hopefully I give him some good looks. I think we set each other up well for success. So we'll probably hit some shots tomorrow or Wednesday pregame. So that's always fun to look forward to. It's no shade to any goalies I've shot on before, but it's a little different level of preparation, and I think it's already helping me kind of develop some more deception in my shots, because with guys like that, you kind of have to add more layers to how you attack. So it's been cool, and yeah, I think I'm pretty lucky, and if I wasn't already staying in Utah, I might consider it just to get those reps in. So yeah.
Well, I know we're only halfway through the season, but I mean, do you have a good locker room story you can share with us, or just something funny that's kind of happened with the guys?
As a rookie, did any pranks pulled on you? A welcome to the team moment?
Oh man, I don't think so. Nothing too much. We do some rookie quizzes, and I think that's probably the funniest thing we do. Um, Kind of depending on where we go, we do some different quizzes on like uh, the venues that we're playing at, or the surrounding areas, and they dig deep for some pretty funny questions. I don't think I have an example, but it's only the rookies who take the quiz, so that's our little bit of like we get some slack pushed our way. So other than that, it's really just supportive, and the guys are funny in a way that just naturally comes out. You're not going to have a dull moment at team dinner when Dauber's sitting there. So, you know, it's more so the natural stuff that you kind of forget about, but you remember the vibe of the room, and how much fun the guys have together. So, I think that's the best answer I've got for now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
A
that's
lot
great.
of witty one-liners for sure. Have you been fined
Yeah,
yet?
Yes. Yes. The rookies, I think we get the short end of the stick a little bit there. So
SFRs.
yeah, we've been getting fined a little bit. So that's another thing. Um, we do some court, we call it, and yeah, I don't know if I should share that. I can't be giving away our culture secrets, but
No, it's not
you
it's not
guys
a
know.
secret that you run court, but I
Yeah.
didn't know if there's anything that stood out that you did that you thought about. Man, I probably shouldn't have done that, and you've learned a lesson.
No, I mean, I'm a pretty quiet guy, honestly. Like, I think I make my impact in the locker room, hopefully, just with, again, like some quiet confidence and being caring and getting on the same page. That's on more of a serious note, but yeah, I think I leave the one-liners mostly to Dauber. He takes care of them, and yeah, we've got a funny locker room for sure. But there's a lot of just beasts in there who are ready to compete, and we have a time where we kind of click into gear. So it's best of both worlds for sure.
Well, we learned from Mac in one of our last interviews that a lot of what y'all do kind of in your free time is playing cards. Are you a card player? Do you get in the mix on those, or?
hmm So I'd say I'm in there like 50% of the time. I don't know. There's a few games I've kind of had to learn them since I've been kind of brought in, and there's some where it's just like there's 20 made up rules, 20 plus, and by the end of it there's 40, and then there's others that are kind of set in stone. So I enjoy both. I usually do better at the ones where the rules are made up, and I can kind of sneakily keep myself in it, but that's about it. I'm not the biggest card player. Um, my extended family is huge card players, but to the point where when I join, I am always outplayed um, to the max limit, and I think that's made me a little shy on the card playing side of things. So I have them to thank for that, but no, I'll keep trying to get better. A little sneakier on the card table, so we'll see how it goes the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the rest of the season, we got 6 more games in front of us. A little longer than previous seasons. We get all 4 East teams, and then a rematch against Chaos, and then one more against the Outlaws. What are you looking for out of the team, and really out of the offense? Down the stretch to make sure that we're in positions to win some of those games, and try and make a playoff run.
Yeah, I think we're steadily making improvements. I don't think anyone, obviously you want to be atop the conference, top the league at all times. That's the goal. Um, but I think we understand like it's a pretty small league where rankings and stuff switch like that, and I think we're really focused on just taking it one step at a time. We meet we meet weekly, we talk often. We, even on bye weeks, we're really focused on, what can we improve at a high level. And it's not about rewriting the script entirely. It's just how do we execute? How do we limit the times where we're just not getting a high percentage opportunity at all? How are we just kind of wasting scenarios where we could be taking advantage? And we have so many, like I said, so many athletes in the middle of the field where we got to take advantage of that at a high level. And just full team involvement. And that's something we'll continue to mesh. And it's a little bit like we don't need to be at our peak play right away. It would be awesome if we were, and we sustained it all the way through. But honestly, like after our last game, which happened to be a loss, it's like, all right, what do we learn from this? This one stung. There's the All-Star break right now, a bye. We don't see each other, for 2 weeks. Like, it's a little more heartfelt in those moments, and it's like we have the guys who step up and say the right things, I think, and we have a staff who understands like how do we all take ownership of this and take the next step forward. So it's a learning experience for me as being in my first year, but it's a little bit of like you can't have that mentality of you're a rookie or you're just a second year or whatnot, and everyone's got to take ownership. And it's pretty cool because that's absolutely happening, and we're going to see it down the stretch. But we have big goals, and we have a bunch of guys on this team that have done it. The big one once or twice in recent years. Obviously, yeah, you guys both got those up. So, what does it take to get another one up? It's it's just about elevating for the most part, and I don't think anyone's thinking you don't have the pieces when you look at this roster and the staff that wants it, and all the players that want it. So, yeah, we'll just keep plugging away, taking it one step at a time. But it's a little bit of coach speak there, I feel like, but that is our answer, in the locker room, and that's our approach every week. So
coach speak. I believe I saw an announcement. It might have been this morning that you were hired as a coach. Could you share with us some of the off the field stuff and what you're doing as a job and who you've been coaching with different clinics and teams?
yeah, so I just try and stay plugged in as much as I can with the lacrosse community. And so I actually intern at a gym. I help with our strength and conditioning there, and that's kind of a part of my day. That's like my morning. I'm actually coaching alongside my former assistant coach at the University of Utah, who kind of, he has a different 9 to 5. He's kind of in both worlds, and just with balancing life, decided to go more in like the youth community. So he stepped away from college coaching, but loves lacrosse. Absolutely, the biggest lax rat I know, or one of them. So we're a good match. We had trouble kind of getting plans down on paper because we just end up chatting about lacrosse the whole time or whatnot. So that's our biggest obstacle right now. But we're just coaching. We want to do some just kind of elite level training for guys in the area who really want to get to the next level. There's off seasons and there's times where I'll be training, but I won't be traveling as much. So to fill it with more lacrosse in this community is pretty cool. So that's something that I'm looking into doing, and we've kind of started it up recently in the past few weeks. So it'll be exciting to see where that goes, and I hope we can grow it into the girls' side and maybe get some women's coaches on board and grow it more into defensive catered training as well. Hopefully just to give this community, this Utah lacrosse community, an outlet for that elite training, and then maybe even bridge some of my strength and conditioning background into that, because that's what I went to school for. I was in kinesiology during my time at Utah.
I do have to ask something else.
Yeah.
More of a lighthearted question.
Mm-hmm.
As a North Carolina basketball fan, when you're watching UNC Duke, which side do you pull for?
So that's yeah. I'm gonna almost like evade this question, but I
Here
think
we go. Okay.
I think it's for good reason. Both my parents attended Wake Forest
Oh,
University,
wow. Okay.
so we're Demon Deacons all the way through. Like
That's
if they
fair.
had a lacrosse team, I think I would have been a diehard, even more so than like growing up and going watching, Duke and UNC play each other. So, um, yeah, I kind of equally hated them both in basketball, and then I don't know, like I was just a fan of players at that time, I think. But if anyone
You're
knows,
probably not old enough to remember Tim Duncan, but
oh, I remember. Yeah.
do you? Okay.
That's yeah. I mean, I didn't get to watch him as like obviously,
Sure.
I'm pretty young for that. But yeah, I mean, that was my mom's favorite. My mom loves basketball. She coached me growing up, so I think she had two or three Tim Duncan jerseys in the house somewhere.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. But if anyone knows Ishmael Smith. Out of Wake Forest. That was my favorite player growing up. So
Very
um,
cool.
go ahead and look him up. Um, my personal greatest of all time
All right.
as a kid.
And
So
lastly, for the kids on the East Coast, might live in the area where Maryland's recruiting or Duke and UNC are recruiting, um, might not be on the radars. Give some words of advice, maybe guidance on moving out west or considering those smaller schools. What would you tell the smaller kid that might not be recruited to all the D1 dream schools?
yeah, I think a thought process that I had and something that I was kind of guided into having this perspective is a little bit of that go where they want you mentality or approach. Um, Coaches are good at recruiting, so you never really know. You can, kind of get a vibe and read people and understand, what a coach's mentality is, and you got to earn it no matter what's told to you in the recruiting process of like, hey, you have a great opportunity here, not as great of an opportunity here, but it's maybe a higher level commitment or whatever. Like you got to earn it no matter where you go. So I think for me, if you're not getting your dream school, choose a school that gives you an opportunity to prove yourself and prove them wrong. Um, and I'm not saying anyone's wrong about me. I was a pretty undersized kid. I might not have recruited myself at the time, not because I was undersized, but maybe I was, underdeveloped as a player, whatever it is. I certainly had a chip on my shoulder for that, and it drive me through a lot. But you never know; you might just not be ready. So take that approach of like, hey, I'm not ready. I got to elevate, and I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna prove it that I can elevate. And whoever's believing in you and giving you that opportunity, like if you have someone that you wish you were playing for and you get an opportunity somewhere else, then that should drive you a little bit. And if you choose right, you're gonna be thankful for everything that happened along the way, whether it's I know September 1st has been changed or something, but whenever recruiting opens and you don't get a call from someone, like you're gonna be glad that happened if you just kind of put your nose down and figure it out and get to a point where they wish they had recruited you, or get to a point where you're competing against them on a big stage. So I think that'll drive you as much as anything. I think, and then but really, and then I'm rambling on, but I got to at this point out is like when you're in a situation that you really put thought into and that you realize you would kind of wake up every day wanting to work for that team or that staff or those teammates, like that's why you end up doing it. So I think that's really special. That's why everyone talks about how great of a locker room is it, how tight knit of a alumni base is it, whatever you're kind of considering. That stuff's talked about because it's why you're actually suiting up once you're there. At times athletics can be selfish of like, I'm pursuing this for me. we all set out because we wanted to play college lacrosse, or we wanted to play varsity high school lacrosse, or play pro lacrosse. That's kind of a selfish goal, but then once you're actually in it, you know, you're doing it, you're suiting up, you're putting your body on the line, you're preparing during the week, not only for yourself but for your teammates. So you just got to find a place where you can kind of mesh all that together, I think. And not only are you waking up to prove people wrong, but you're waking up to prove your teammates right, your staff right, and you're playing for someone who's given you, you know, a chance, an opportunity to do that. So if, you know, there's some luck involved, like, absolutely, but if you get an opportunity to do that anywhere, that's pretty special. So I certainly wouldn't underestimate what any place that gives you an opportunity and is serious about winning or taking a next step, like, that is a really special journey to be a part of.
Heard a little taste of the Marzi pregame. Go prove somebody right out there. I love that one.
Yeah, that's right. Marzi, yeah, he got us right with that one. He's, yeah, gets the boys fired up for sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing more that Jackson and I want than to see one more home game at the end of this season.
Yep.
So we wish you the best of luck, your final 6 games, regular season games. You want to send us out, Jackson?
Yeah. Thank you again so much for being so giving of your time. I know it's late where both of us are, and you know, we all have you know, real world things to take care of. So really appreciate you coming on and doing this with us. You know, big game. I think they're all big at this point. Big game this weekend against Atlas. So you know, just remember, let it fly.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.